Hey, lady, have you ever felt like the world just doesn't get you? Well, we do.
Welcome to Cultivating Her Space, the podcast dedicated to uplifting and empowering women like you. We're your hosts,
Dr. Dominique Broussard, an educator and psychologist,
and Terry Lomax, a techie and transformational speaker.
Join us every week for authentic conversations about everything from fibroids to fake friends as we create space for Black women to just be.
Before we dive in, make sure you hit that follow button and leave us a quick 5-star review. Lady, we are Black founded and Black owned, and your support will help us reach even more women like you.
Now, let's get into this week's episode of Cultivating Her Space. Our quote of the day: the reality is people are human. People make mistakes. But we also have to learn how to protect ourselves, trust ourselves, and move with wisdom. All right, I'm going to say that one more time for the folks in the back. The reality is people are human. People make mistakes. But we also have to learn how to protect ourselves, trust ourselves, and move with wisdom.
Amen to that.
Listen.
Is something coming up for you around the quote?
Yeah, I feel like it's self-explanatory, but I think the thing that I want to emphasize is we are human, from the person that you think the most about, that you have on the highest of high pedestals. And we talked about pedestals last week. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, pause this one, go listen to last week's episode, and then come back. To the person that you think the worst of. And everybody in between, we are all human.
Yeah. That's it. Mic drop. All right. Let's get into it. So last week, we started a very important conversation about reputation, character, integrity, and why our reputation matters more than ever, especially in this age. And honestly, that conversation, it was so rich, and we kind of went deeper than we expected. And so we wanted to come back with a part 2. So as Dom said, if you have not listened to part 1 yet, go back, listen, check it out, and then join us here. But today we're going to dive into discernment. And we're talking about knowing how and who to trust, accountability without dehumanization, and what it means to leave room for growth in a world where people are constantly, again, being put on pedestals and publicly torn down. Because like you said, Dom, yes, yes, we're all human and we make mistakes. And it is still important for us to protect ourselves. Like, just because it's just so much nuance there, right? Like, yes, we are human. Yes, we all make mistakes. And if someone's a repeat offender and they keep doing the same thing over and over, or they show you their character or who they are or who they are deciding to be on a consistent basis, we need to make some decisions, right? And so we're going to dive right into how to know who to trust, because it's getting tough out here in these streets, right? With AI. And I was telling Dom that I saw this video on the YouTube, where it was like an ad, and it looked like Oprah, but how AI right now still has that funny, it's like a little funky voice to it. I knew it wasn't Oprah. Like, many of us have watched Oprah since we were kids. I knew it wasn't Oprah, but they were promoting a product with her likeness. And I was just like, how is this legal? Number one, it's probably not. So I don't know how they're doing it, but that's pretty scary.
It is really scary. And I think the thing is that even with the rise of AI taking over people's image and likeness, even outside of that, even before that, it was still important for us to understand how to trust the people around us that we interact with in real life.
Yeah.
So for me, when I think about like the people who are trustworthy, right? I know that I can trust you if you are consistent, if and here's the thing I want to say with that. Consistency, you can be consistent at being shitty. Like
Hmm.
you can be a not so good person. You can treat people not you cannot treat people well.
Yeah.
And if that's what you consistently do, I trust that.
Hmm.
I trust you. Trusting you doesn't mean that I agree with you, that I actually, or that I like who you are. What it means is that at least in this consistency piece, I can trust, I can trust you in that your behavior is behavior that I don't rock with because you're consistent with it,
Mm.
right? Now, the type of trustworthy people that we want to spend time around, they're consistent in the good things that they do. They admit to their mistakes. They treat people well in private. They are open to accountability. They don't need to perform this level of superiority. In line with that, they have humility. And they have alignments in their words, actions, and values.
Those are good.
Yeah.
I like that. I was just going to say, from what you shared, they were all really great. And the one that really stood out to me, thinking about personal experience, is people who do what they say they're going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you know
Mm-hmm.
what to expect. I know that you're accountable, but also dependable. And I think this is a
Mm-hmm.
great time for us as individuals, like as humans in this day and age, to think about what makes me trust someone. Because when you see that inconsistency, right, or you see the
Yeah.
consistency in the wrong areas, then you know that, oh, let me make some moves. Because we talked about this in previous episodes. Now, maybe I'm traumatized, but I'm thinking about a certain situation of someone who looked good. They were fun to be around. There was a good time. I had a good time with them, if you know what I mean. But
Mm-hmm.
they were consistently inconsistent, and their words did not match their actions. And so I think sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we can get emotionally, and I'm not just talking about relationships, but this could be, it could be anything, right? We get
Mm-hmm.
emotionally invested into something, and even when we see those green flags are not there, we're still just like I'm moving ahead. I'm just going to keep on going,
Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times there are consequences to that, right? Not saying we got to be right 100% of the time, but when we don't follow that gut, or something, something doesn't feel right here, we end up having consequences ultimately because of those things.
Yes, yes. And I think the thing that a couple of others that I want to add to this is
Mm-hmm.
a person, we can tell that a person is trustworthy when they're open,
Mm.
right? So they are open to feedback doesn't necessarily mean that they like the feedback, right? That's a difference, but they're open to it. They're open to new experiences. They are open to vulnerability. Though to me, those are other signs that a person is trustworthy. Are they ethical in how they behave?
Mm.
Right? Are they kind and respectful and caring to the people around them? How do they treat people that they have nothing to gain from?
Yeah, those are good. Those are great. I love them. And then we're going to talk about some red flags, okay? So, and again, I think we're kind of giving you just ideas on what we value, but you have to think about what you value because we may have differing perspectives. But I know a red flag for me is like oh, an overmanaged identity, right? Like always obsessing about
Mm.
perception, but
Mm-hmm.
not really focused on the substance, right? Like I know
Yeah.
many people who are like, oh, everything has to just look, and don't get me wrong, I like things to look a certain way, but I also like to be able to make sure what's below the surface is also in order. And so people who are just constantly obsessed with that outside image, but not necessarily what's happening behind the scenes, so committed to looking
Mm-hmm.
good, but not necessarily being good, whatever good is, of course. I would say always performing expertise. So someone always needing to be, sounding right or always just not being able to admit, like, I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
you ever talk to someone and they just pull, you see them pull, they just pulling shit out their ass. They just pulling it out. And you're like, I know what you're saying is some bullshit, but you just, because you can't say that you don't know, you just got to make some shit up.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
trust it like that. That don't sit right with me, right?
Yeah.
Lacking accountability, which you talked about before, like always being a victim or blaming other people, inability to apologize. And in interpersonal relationships, Dom, in a particular relationship, I ask the question like, what areas for improvement do you have? I think that's a very interesting question to ask someone just to see
Mm-hmm.
what comes up. How do you see yourself, right? Like, are you always right? And the person answer the question. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. That seems like a red flag. Like you have nothing you can improve upon. Everything that went wrong in other relationships was always the other person. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That's a problem. Mm-hmm.
Inconsistency. We talked about this a bit, but treating people smaller or people who don't appear to be able to do you any good or benefit, treating them poorly. I mean, that right there is a huge red flag to me. Like,
Yes.
what are we
Yes.
doing?
Right. And I think the thing to remember is
Mm-hmm.
that it's about paying attention to the patterns
Yes.
and not like looking for the patterns and not like one-offs, right? Because again, we are all human. There there may be someone who is truly trustworthy that consistently admits to mistakes, they treat people well privately, but then they have one day, one moment where they don't take accountability for something. Like you're pointing out something that they didn't do well or where they might have hurt your feelings, or, you're pointing something out to them. And in that instance, they're not taking accountability, right? Does this mean that now all of a sudden we can never trust this person? Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Let's step back and look at the person as a whole. What's their general pattern? Do they generally take accountability for things? Are they generally a consistent person? Or are you still just getting to know them? There's not been enough time for you to make that decision whether or not they truly are trustworthy. And so now you have to hold off on making a decision about their trustworthiness because this is the first instance where you've asked them to take accountability and they didn't do it. Because we don't have enough time with them and this is the first instance, we don't know if this is how they normally get down.
Mm-hmm. But it's like a mental note,
Right, right.
Proceed with caution.
Yes, exactly.
I want to get your perspective on something. I just thought about
Okay,
this.
go
So,
ahead.
the other thing I want to say first is the other thing to note here is that everyone is not going to be your cup of tea and you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And that's okay. Like, it is okay for you to see someone's content or to hear someone's perspective and be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. That's a different perspective. I don't really, that doesn't seem like my person or like my people, like my
Yes.
vibe, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
probably not going to follow them, probably just skip that content. So, speaking of that, I saw this guy. I'm not going to say any names. I don't even know this man's name, but hopefully this doesn't become a thing. But it's just something I saw on social media that I thought was very interesting. And I'm going to dive into it. So basically, I saw this guy, and I'm going to give you a summary of what he said at this conference. I think it was like a relationship panel or something. And he was stating that he how some women they think they're special because men treat them a certain way. And what he was saying is he's like, I bring everybody to meet my mom. I bring everybody to meet my kids. I take everyone to Paris. I suck everybody's toes. I eat everybody booty. Like he was just going in, like all the things he does. He's like, I do this to everybody because I'm rich and blah blah blah. And there was more to it. But in hearing that perspective, I saw some women commenting on that and they had perspectives. And as someone who I think I've seen this content before, and from what I saw before, I thought his content from what I recall, I thought it was like decent content, just scrolling. But after hearing
Hmm.
that perspective, I there's a couple of things. One, it seems like he was being
Hmm.
radically honest, which is like, hey, if that's how you
Yeah.
get down, that's how you get down. Two, something about it was just like, ugh, like it was just like, I don't know, something about it just didn't, I can't put my finger on it, but it didn't sit well with me. I was just like, okay. And so that's an example. I want to see what your perspective is on just that whole interaction of like scrolling, seeing someone, this is what they share. What comes up for you when you hear that, Dom?
So the first thing that comes up is I need more context on how they engage in other situations, right?
Okay. Yep.
And before I make a judgment on who they are, whether or not they're a trustworthy person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's the question that we're asking. Like, is this
Yeah.
person trustworthy, right? In terms of like the comment that he shared about dating,
Yeah.
and treating every woman the same, my initial thought is that in as a society, in dating culture, a lot of us, millennials and older,
Mm-hmm.
not so much Gen Z, millennials, and because Gen Z has been shaped differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Millennials and older, we were socialized to believe that a man is going to treat the woman that he wants to marry, that he intends to marry, in at a higher standard
Mm-hmm.
than he's going to treat other women that he dates.
Yeah.
And so I can understand where, oh, he treats everybody equally, everybody exactly the same. I could see where that may feel problematic hearing it, right? I'd be curious though, one, if he actually does that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
That's a
that's
good
my first
point.
point of curiosity. Does
Yeah.
he actually treat every single woman the same? And two, if he treats every single woman exactly the same, are we then saying that, like, are we saying, or what is the judgment that we're making on his trustworthiness if he's treating every woman exactly the same? Because
Mm-hmm.
to me, based on how we understand trustworthiness, I would trust him if he is truly being honest that he treats every woman that he dates exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I
my next
appreciate
point of
that.
curiosity would be, are you telling all of the women that you are seeing other women and they are all getting the same treatment?
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that though, because I feel like you just walked us through a really like a nice an interesting process and journey of like a parasocial relationship where like you see someone's content, you may want to make a quick snap judgment, and then you kind of go through this process of like, oh, okay, like are they trustworthy? Maybe I don't agree with what he said. Or even me, like it kind of made me feel awake. So I'm like, well, if you know, this is my thought, like if you know that women are gonna feel special or they're gonna probably be more clingy or just like you more because you're
Mm-hmm.
doing these things and you're doing that. It's like that kind of doesn't seem cool. But then at the same time, you are being honest. You are being upfront. Like I've had men who have been upfront, like this is what I want, this is what I'm trying to do. And it's like you gotta respect the honesty. So I wanted to bring that up because I
Yeah.
appreciate the process that you walk through to get to like, oh, how
Mm-hmm.
do I feel about this? And at the same time, I think we can resonate with someone's content and not be a fan of the person, right? Or we could be a
Yeah.
fan of the person and not necessarily resonate with the content or not agree with what they said. I think this is just a
Yes.
reminder of like we get to make the decision, but these are some of the things to consider when we're consuming the content. And like just because we disagree with someone doesn't mean they're a bad person, right? We're all entitled to our
Right.
own perspectives based on our lived experience. So I appreciate you sharing.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think, and I think also too, to the first thing that I pointed out, right,
Hmm.
is I need more context.
Yes.
That in order to determine whether someone truly is trustworthy, it's not made in a snap judgment.
Hmm.
Because if I'm seeing just that one snippet of content, I can make all kinds of assumptions about
Yeah.
that person that might not even be accurate.
Hmm.
It's needing needing bigger context and asking questions, getting curious. And then, but when it comes to people that we're meeting like in real life,
Yeah.
it's we can't make a snap judgment off of someone that we interacted with for 5 minutes.
Hmm.
That it's helpful to give it some time, have multiple interactions in various settings to then determine, is this a trustworthy person?
Yeah.
I think particularly also like when it comes to dating, right? That as you are trying to determine, is this partner a trustworthy person? It's looking at their actions. It's looking at, are they consistent? All the things that we mentioned before, but it's also paying attention to the stories that they tell you about their past, right?
Hmm.
Or how they spent their day, right? Like, are the stories that they're sharing with you, are they taking accountability? Do they have some level of humility?
Hmm.
How are they treating people from all walks of life that they encounter? Are they generally consistent? Are their behaviors and words aligned with their values? Do those things also match up with what you're looking for in a partner? Those are ways in which you can start to see, is this person trustworthy?
Hmm. Those are good. I love that a lot. And that kind of takes us on to accountability, right? Accountability without dehumanization. This is a big one because I feel like
Oh,
we are just, especially in the world of social media, like people see something and then they just like no forgiveness, it seems like ever, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
in order to hold someone accountable, I think you can hold them accountable, but also they deserve humanity at the same time. You know what I mean? It's
Yes.
like we can
Yes.
do both. This is complex. What do you think about this one?
So I think that to your point, like, yes, both are necessary. That
Mm-hmm.
when we see someone doing something that is inappropriate, illegal, unethical, whatever the word
Mm-hmm.
is that that we're using to describe their particular behavior, the internet is an easy place for folks to be. I can't, no, the word is not the word is escaping me right now.
Yeah.
But, we can be harsh and aggressive.
Yeah.
And I mean, we as people in general can be harsh and aggressive when we are hiding behind a screen.
Twitter fingers. That type
Twitter
vibe.
fingers, internet thugs, whatever word
Yeah.
we want to use to describe it,
Yeah.
we can be very harsh and aggressive in ways that we would not be in real life.
For sure.
And so I think that's where the dehumanization comes into play. That like it is easy for us to, because we have held people, when we're dealing with social media content or just internet content in general,
Mm-hmm.
because we have held content creators, celebrities, to higher standards, put them on pedestals and all the things, we by doing so, we are treating them as if they aren't human, and that pulls away from the expectation of them being quote unquote normal, right? Like the
Yeah.
rest of us, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And so then what happens is when they do something wrong or something that in the court of public opinion is a problem, then all of a sudden we get hot with those Twitter fingers and everybody's going in because now we've put this person in a place, put this person on a pedestal, and we no longer treat them as if they are human.
Hmm.
So we just assume that they can take all the vitriol that we are as a public tossing at them.
Yeah.
And we expect them to be able to all of a sudden, with all of that vitriol being tossed at them, take accountability for what they did wrong.
Yeah. Oof. There's a lot that I mean, we've seen many people get dragged on social media. We lived
Yeah.
through cancel culture, and
Yeah.
the interesting, like I think about me, like or you, Dom, if we were to experience that, we are human, like you said, we're human at the end of the day, and so
Yes.
dragging people and commenting all this negativity and people, another human seeing that constantly, it can be very destructive, right?
It can be.
And I think accountability, it should not require public destruction. Like there
Right.
ideally, right, there should be a world where we can state, this person did this, this isn't right, you know, we want you to hold yourself accountable, whatever it might be, try to hold them accountable. And then at some point it's like, okay, let me decide how I'm going to engage with this person and let me move on. Cause like, what's the point of
Yeah.
continuing? You know what I mean? It's just like, okay,
Continuing to
we
pile on. Yeah.
pile on. Yeah. So it's like accountability matters, boundaries matter. So me determining how
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to interact with this content or this person based on how they showed up. We were talking,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about what we talked about in the last after show, that guy,
Oh,
the
yes.
man,
Yes. Yes.
no
Mm-hmm.
names, but lady, if you
Mm-hmm.
know, you know. So there was a man on social media, right? People say he was pandering to black women, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
was creating a lot of content that a lot of black women were appreciating. And allegedly, they were saying that he was, I don't know if it was mentoring or advising women behind the scenes on like leaving their relationships, but then he get in there trying to sleep with them and he's cheating on his wife and doing all these things, right? And so when all this came to the public, it was, I mean, one, the jokes, I mean, they was going in on the different memes and the skits and all of that, pulled his whole
Mm-hmm.
family into it, all of that, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, we should hold people accountable and state like, hey, what you were doing, that's not right. You were misleading people, blah, 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 whatever. And then, okay, move on. Don't, if you not
Right.
rocking with him, I'm not gonna buy his products. I'm not gonna support him. But I'm also not
Right.
gonna like take time out of my life, right? To every day comment on a post and say how dumb he is or how much I don't like him. Like, what are we doing now? What
That's
is the
not adding to my
purpose?
life. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I think there has to be that balance because people will go in. I'll be like, oh, feel bad.
Yeah. And I think, the other thing too with that is, there are people currently online that like the internet is coming for.
Mm-hmm.
And on one hand, they need to be held accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at what point, and this is part of what we wrestle with, right? As
Yeah.
we are engaging with people, at what point do we have empathy when the person is coming back? Like, if when the person is one, not taking accountability and actually like doubling down on the problematic behavior and then responding with aggressiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think then the question becomes, okay, well, at what point do we have empathy for this person if that's their response when they're being held accountable for their behavior?
That's a good question. I also think that depending on what field people are in, like the accountability is extremely important, right? Like I'm thinking if you're in a field,
Agreed.
if you are a if you are a surgeon, like you're masquerading around like a surgeon and you're trying to do work on someone's body and you're trying to do surgery, right? And you're lying about that, people need it it deserves to
Remember
be
that
the black
back in
guy,
the
the
young
young black
kid
guy.
back in Florida?
Yes. I
Yes,
can't remember all the
yes,
details, but I know the picture of him.
yes,
There's like a picture of
yes,
him and is posing like this. And
yes.
it's like, okay, you are literally putting people in harm's way. This should be a public
Lives at
service
risk.
announcement. Lives at
Yes.
risk. This should be a public service announcement. Everyone needs to be aware of this to inform the public, right?
Right.
And
Not in a
hopefully,
humiliating, not to humiliate the person
yeah.
who's impersonating a doctor, by the way. Like
Mm-hmm.
that is illegal. Like not to humiliate them,
Yeah.
but to protect the public.
To protect the public. At the same time, the question is like, does public shame, does it really create transformation, right? Because some people are going to be who they're going to be. So for the instance that you were talking about, Dom, if someone takes accountability and they're like, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
I messed up, it's easier to be like, you know what? I fuck with you. Like you admitted you were wrong. What you did, you was on
Yes.
some bullshit, but I forgive you. Like you're taking accountability. I respect that. Like
Yes.
it puts me in
Because
a
that
position
goes
where we
back to
can.
trustworthiness.
Exactly. We can rebuild the trust. But when you, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, when someone's doubling down, and again, y'all, we're not trying to be messy and dramatic, but like we all see what's happening in the world around this
Yes.
time. So it's like, okay, let's have a conversation about it in a tactful way. And it's like, if someone is doubling down and they're being nasty and they're showing up in this way, I think that that gives us an opportunity to say, okay, how do I want to engage with this brand, with this person based on that? Do I want to block them so I don't see this shit anymore? Do I want
Right.
to make sure that I'm not buying any of their product services? And if I have someone in my life who's like, oh, I'm thinking about doing this or working with this person, maybe I just have a conversation like, you know what? You know this happened. Do your research. Again, that doesn't mean I'm going online, reposting everything, sharing, because the message got out there. Like people know
It
what
did.
had
Mm-hmm.
happened. And now it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what's next? So there's other things in the world that we can spend our time and energy on that are probably more productive now that the world knows, right? If that makes sense.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And so I think that takes us to the next phase, right? Is the reconciliation and forgiveness piece,
Hmm.
right? Now, the question is, do we forgive? And I think it depends on the scenario.
Hmm.
So, to that example that we just brought up, if you aren't admitting, you aren't taking accountability,
That's a
am I
character
gonna
problem.
right?
Yeah.
Am I gonna forgive you? I
Yeah.
may be able to forgive you, but I'm not supporting you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not, like you said, like you noted before. I'm probably gonna block all of your content. Like I'm gonna not follow you. Like I'm not taking in your content anymore. And if someone brings your name up, I probably will let them know, hey, I don't think this person is trustworthy. I don't know if you might want to do some more research
Hmm.
before you decide to support them.
Yeah.
Because I'm also big on people making decisions for themselves.
For
You
sure.
ask me my opinion, I'm going to give it,
Yeah.
but I'm also going to advocate for you to research for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a good point, Dom. And I feel like in situations like that, where going back to the trustworthiness, if you can't be held accountable and you're not able to admit when you were wrong, it just kind of it makes you question other aspects
Mm-hmm.
of your life, how you're showing up, what you're advising people, you know? And so, yeah, it's definitely a lot to consider, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
But I
think you asked the
think
questions. Hmm.
but I think also that we're in this example, we're talking about somebody that we see on online, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what do we do if it's someone that we know in real life, right? That we interact with on a day-to-day basis, or maybe not day-to-day basis, but this is a person that we interact with in real life,
And they're
right?
not
In
taking
real time,
accountability. They're not
right?
taking accountability. Is that right?
Yeah, they aren't taking accountability. They're doubling down. they're not seeing where, or they're refusing to acknowledge where the impact of their actions.
I
What do
don't
we
know.
do?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you have something in mind? Like, what would you like if someone, I guess it's situational. It depends on how serious the
Mm-hmm.
thing is. But honestly, just as you were stating that, I'm like, I don't really want to be fooling with somebody who, like, that's a big relational turnoff to me. Like, you
Yeah.
can't just admit that. And we all know, we know you was wrong. And you can't admit that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
like,
Like I get that maybe, okay, at first you might be taken aback and you might not take accountability initially in that moment, right? But at some point, if this is if this is a relationship that you have with someone that is important to you, at some point you can pause, you can circle back and revisit and say, you know what? My bad. If
hmm
you struggle with saying the words I'm sorry, I mean that's something to work on, but if you're aware that you did fuck up,
hmm
like now you're like the person pointed it out to you. You initially was like, nah, you sat with it, and now you're aware that, oh, wait, yeah, I did. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's okay to circle back and say, you know what, my bad. That was kind of fucked up on my part. And I think I have more space for the person who's willing to circle back
Yeah.
because to me that says that you're open to growing.
Yeah, for sure.
That initially you might not have, it really might, you might have missed it,
hmm
but if you're able to circle back and say, you know what, you were right, I did mess up, I'm willing to work with that person.
Yeah, that makes sense. These are such tricky scenarios. I'm thinking about situations too. You ever have a situation where you both just honestly see like you just see it differently, and maybe they don't
Mm-hmm.
think they made a mistake, right? So I'm thinking about instances where like we know that like you was wrong, your
Yeah.
ass was wrong. And so
Yeah.
thinking about that when it comes to the forgiveness aspect, it's also important for us to remember that forgiveness and access are not the same thing, right?
Nope.
You can forgive and then still set boundaries because if someone is going to show up in that way, it's a red flag in my opinion. Like if you can't take accountability or admit
Yeah.
that you were wrong, especially if you wronged someone that's close to you, and we're not talking about the parasocial relationships here, but it's like, okay, I'm going to set a boundary. So maybe I'm not going to do a certain activity with you or share certain things with you. Now, I don't know why I was thinking about a Monopoly game, probably because we talked about it recently. I was thinking
Yes.
about Monopoly and I was like, all right, let's say you playing with your friend or you with the homies and you play Monopoly and somebody's cheating in the game and you know they cheating and they keep lying saying they're not cheating. It's like, bro, like that's annoying. Like, why are you doing this? So it's like not that the friendship is gonna end, but like maybe I'm just like my boundaries. I'm not playing Monopoly with your ass no more. You know what I mean? Like we're not
Exactly.
doing this.
Yeah, we're not,
And
because
I'm
that
gonna look at you
means
sideways
that,
too.
exactly, like that means that I cannot trust you in the Monopoly game, right? And so then that
Exactly.
brings up another point, right? That there
hmm
may be, trust is also can be a nuanced piece in that there may be situations in general I
hmm
trust you, right? But there may be certain situations in which I can't trust you.
hmm
That doesn't mean that I'm going to not be your friend, not be in your life at all, because I can trust you in general.
Yeah.
So, the Monopoly game. To me, Monopoly game is a low stakes thing
hmm
that I can't trust you to play Monopoly without cheating. Because maybe that's how you grew up as a kid. That was a thing that y'all did, whatever. There may be some context behind it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if I can trust you, if you have demonstrated that I can trust you in larger things,
hmm
then all right, we just not gonna play Monopoly together anymore.
what's high stakes for you, Don? Where something where you be like, all right, this shit right here, you bugging. Like,
So for me, high stakes is more emotionally vulnerable things,
mm-hmm,
right? Um, if I had a kid, or yeah, so emotionally vulnerable things, and then other risks where other people's lives are involved.
mm-hmm.
If I had a kid and I generally trusted you to watch my kid, I'm gonna be sure to tell you you're not teaching my child how to play Monopoly. But in
Yeah,
general, I trust you to babysit my kid. Like you're one of the trusted people in my kid's life.
yeah.
Like if you mess that up, if you do something then that makes me say, I can't trust you to watch my child,
Mm-hmm.
that's higher risk to me. Like if
Yeah,
I
that
can't
makes
trust you to watch my child, then chances are you're not going to be in my life anyway, right?
mm-hmm.
That's higher risk.
Yeah. That makes sense. I was thinking of like financial things where like
Oh
someone's
yeah, that
dishonest
too.
about that. Like if you're a friend and you're like, oh, I gave you some bread, you went to the store, you spent money on something, and then you're like, oh, this is the change. And like it's just things like that where it's like this is a bit more
Yeah.
high
Yes.
risk. So no, that's
Yeah.
good. And I think like we said before, mistakes are normal. Like we all make mistakes, right? And some mistakes
Yes.
reveal humanity, whereas others reveal patterns. And I think the biggest point of our conversation here is like look at the patterns, look for the patterns
Right.
in your life, in your real life, but also in the parasocial relationships. When you start to see someone act a certain way or show up a certain way, or they're showcasing values or perspectives that maybe don't resonate with you, it's like, okay, I need to question my interactions with this, right? So,
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important too, particularly around these parasocial relationships, because of the age of social media, people tend to be, it seems to be more visible. It We all have access to how people are responding to their parasocial relationships, right?
yeah.
Like, pre-social media, if your favorite celebrity was doing something that you didn't like,
hmm
how were you supposed to let them know?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't watch their movie anymore. Maybe you stopped buying their music.
hmm
But now, if your favorite celebrity is doing something you don't like, you know, Twitter fingers, we're on their social media page leaving nasty comments.
hmm
And so, and because if you have this relationship, parasocial relationship with your favorite content creator or celebrity, because of the social media connections and the amount of content that people put out there, you may feel that emotional connection may feel more intense
mm
because it feels like a deeper connection versus, again, pre-social media, we got a few glimpses into people's lives here and there. Like they did,
hmm
Ebony or Essence would do an interview and you get this full spread on behind the scenes of this person's life, the
hmm
curated for the magazine behind the scenes of this person's life.
Okay.
And now on social media, they get to the artist gets to curate in real time what they want you to see. And if they are doing something that you don't like, now all of a sudden, again, like I said, you get to be in their comment section, right? And then it could be going back to what we said about cancel culture. If enough people don't like what they see, then everybody is taking it personal. And now this artist may end up being canceled for something that sometimes is not a huge risk.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so people should have room to grow, right? Like we talked about accountability.
Yes.
Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
accountability requires a bit of education. People should have room to grow and evolve publicly, and we should allow people to transform. So sometimes you may have to stop, following someone, and then you may check up on them because you're like, damn, I used to like that person's content. Let me see what they're up to. Let me see
Have
what
they
they've done.
grown?
Have they
Mm-hmm.
grown? Because we grow.
Mm-hmm.
Girl, we had this
Constantly
podcast.
evolving.
Yes, we've had
Seven
this
and a
podcast
half
for 7.5 years.
years.
We're about to hit 8 years in July, yeah, in July. And we are not the same people we were when we first started the show. And
Right.
so it's like giving people room to grow and remembering that your name carries energy before you enter a room. And eventually, who you are will matter more than how impressive you looked online or even just from the outside, right? Like from seeing you
Yes.
superficially.
Yes. And reputation can change. Like we said before, reputation can change, but character is the thing that's generally constant in us.
That's right. Okay. Thank you for tuning in, lady. We appreciate you. And we want to let you know that we are on YouTube now. So head on over to YouTube, Her Space Podcast. And if you want to visit our Patreon and support us, you can visit herspacepodcast.com. Click anywhere you see Patreon. If you're on YouTube, hey, comment below if you appreciated this video. Let us know your perspective. And we hope that you got some value out of this conversation. And we hope that we talked about this in a way that was like tactful and we got to the meat of it without feeding into all the hoopla that we see in the
Yes.
social sphere. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're not with the drama.
Thanks for tuning into Cultivating Her Space. Remember that while this podcast is all about healing, empowerment, and resilience, it's not a substitute for therapy. If you or someone you know needs support, check out resources like Therapy for Black Girls or Psychology Today. If you love today's episode, do us a favor and share it with a friend who needs some inspiration. Or leave us a quick 5-star review. Your support means the world to us and helps keeps this space thriving.
And before we meet again, repeat after me. I move in alignment, not urgency. What's meant for me responds to me. Keep thriving, lady, and tune in next Friday for more inspiration from Cultivating Her Space. In the meantime, be sure to connect with us on Instagram at Her Space Podcast.